Hi, everyone. So I like running. And when I first got into it in college, I had a lot of friends start to ask me, "What are you running from?" And I said, "I'm not running from anything. That's a weird question. I'm running to something." But they said, "Yeah, you're still running away from something. You can't go searching for something without trying to escape something else." And I thought, can't you? A few years after that, I ran across the US, and this past summer, I ran all 2,000 miles of the Tour de France route. And when I finished, I started writing a book proposal, and I found a literary agency in a small office in New York City, and I met with them, and they asked me why. Why had I run the tour? A normal enough question, but through our conversation, I understood that they were asking not why, but what happened? What awful thing had happened to make me want to go do something like this? In short, what was I running from? And I submitted a proposal, and I said I wasn't running from anything. I went on my run as a means to discover, to enter a new environment, discover its challenges, to learn grit and perseverance, and ultimately find out what's on the other side of those things. I didn't go to find myself or to fix myself, because as you can see, I was neither lost nor broken. And they responded, they said, "Yeah, we like your writing, but we're just not sure there's enough of a story here. Sorry." And from our previous conversation, I understood that what they were looking for was another version of the bestseller Wild, or of Eat, Pray, Love. Another version of a young female experiencing some tragic event and goes on a journey to find herself. Now, I love those books, and I've reread and highlighted Wild, but that doesn't mean that the author, Cheryl Strayed's story is mine, and it doesn't mean that hers is the only story for anyone who's ever gone searching for something more. And our perceptions are built on the stories we tell ourselves. So if that's the only version of discovery we have, what are we supposed to take away from that? That discovery is only available or only necessary if and when our lives are in upheaval? Because if that's all we've got, if that's all we believe in, then we'll wait until we're lost or broken to ever set sail. And the idea that a journey like mine, running the Tour de France, necessarily required something negative or inconvenient as a catalyst, the idea that I would choose to do that just so I wouldn't have to choose to do something else, that is ridiculous. Why do we believe that? I mean, honestly, is it easier for us to believe that? Why is it never enough for us to say, I did that because I knew it would be hard, and I wanted to see if I could? Discovery for the sake of discovery matters. It does. You remember back in elementary school when it got time to learn about the explorers of the New World, and we had those old musty sepia maps, and we learned about Jacques Cousteau and Cartier? Because I remember chitter-chattering with my 5th grade desk buddies and being like, I'm going to be an explorer when I grow up. Yeah, and I was so excited. And the next day I got to class, and I was feeling kind of down, and my teacher came over, and she's like, "What's up, Zoe? What's going on?" And I said, "Well, yesterday I wanted to be an explorer, but today I realized that job doesn't exist anymore. The maps have already been drawn." And my teacher said, "Yeah, your point?" And I, annoying 5th grader, I said, "Well, duh, teach. I can't be an explorer if there's nothing left to explore." And she looked at me and she said, "Do it anyway." And I thought, yes, my teacher's awesome. I will do it anyway. Of course I'll do it anyway. And for many years, I thought, I'll do it anyway. And then I got to college, and I found the School of Business, and the School of Leadership, and the School of Law. But no School of Exploration. And I thought, oh no, maybe I took my teacher's advice too literally. But we do need to do it anyways. And the maps are already drawn up, but there are uncharted opportunities everywhere in our lives. And discovery matters because it makes us children again. And when we are children, we are always learning and always growing. As a whole, as a process, discovery first encourages our curiosity. Then it forces our engagement, and ultimately causes a transformation in ourselves. So think back to the first time you went abroad, or you started a new job, or the first time you asked somebody out on a date. A new situation like that encourages our openness, our curiosity. We'll instinctively look around, try and figure it out. We become completely open to trying to understand the newness simply because it's new and unknown. And then if we remain long enough, we've got the choice to either pack up our bags and go on home back to comfort, or we can stay. But if we want to stay, if we want to keep going, we must engage. We must learn the language, problem solve new obstacles as we go, figure out what to do when the road ends, literally. Learn how to try and fail and see how that feels. And then retry and succeed. And we do all of this step by step. And in increments too gradual for us to even take notice, we change. And we learn self-confidence, and we learn new skills. But we also discover something about ourselves which is so hard to put words to. Something about that fire, that spirit inside of us. Our potential, our capability for learning and growing and overcoming. And it doesn't matter what words you put to that process. I'll let you choose your own. But what matters is that we've learned it in the most powerful way possible, by doing. I say all of this from my experience doing, from my experience running the Tour de France this summer. The Tour has never been run before, and there was never a day when I thought, yeah, I got this. I'll succeed. I know it. I never knew that. Never. And in 2,000 miles, I learned a lot. But the most important lesson came at the end when I decided to run the final stage, the final 90 miles in one go. I had never run more than 50 before, and I wanted to see if I could. And I was privately overwhelmed, feeling like this, insecure about that decision. And I wrote a blog post about it, and I thought it was cheery. But my friends and family saw right through it, how I was really feeling. And they emailed me that afternoon, and they emailed me these really poignant insights into how I was feeling. And they said, Zoe, we hope you'll succeed, and we know you'll try, obviously. But just keep it in mind that sometimes trying and finding out what you just cannot do is just as important as finding out what you can do. It's what we learn in the process that counts. So there you go, everyone. Boom. There's my TED Talk in a sentence. It's what we learn. It's what we discover that counts. So with that message in mind, I started my 90 miles that night, and they were the worst and hardest and stupidest thing I've ever done. And when I finally finished, 23 hours after starting, I was nearly broken, covered in sun poisoning, bloodied, bruised, delirious. But I had made it. 2,000 miles. And all of those times I had my doubts and my fears and those question marks always hanging over my head. And all that had taught me about perseverance and the strength of the human spirit and our ability to just never give up. 2,000 miles and all those mountain passes, and there I was that night on the other side of it all, finally a changed person. Exhausted, stunned, happy. And I sat there for 10, 15, 20 minutes on the quiet nighttime pavement, trying to wrap my head around it all, trying to figure out what does it mean to go through something like this and finish it. And I realized, for the first time in my life, I might really understand the wisdom behind one of my favorite poems. And I'll end my talk with that poem. I'm sure many of us have heard it. It goes like this. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the road less traveled by. And that has made all the difference. Thank you.